The illusion of left and right, a Machiavellian perspective on political division. In the realm of politics, there is a pervasive and, to some, infuriating divide between the so-called left and right ideologies. Many individuals argue that this distinction is nothing more than a fabricated illusion designed to further separate and manipulate the masses. While it is essential to acknowledge the existence of ideological differences in politics, it is equally important to consider a Machiavellian perspective that challenges the authenticity of these divisions. This essay will delve into the notion that left and right are mere constructs, born out of the same origins, and explore the possibility of a more pertinent categorization system based on the levels of corruption within political leadership. The manufactured divide. Critics argue that the left-right political spectrum is a deceptive tool used to maintain control over the population. They assert that those who created these ideologies share common interests, and the differences between them are superficial at best. In this view, left and right are merely masks worn by politicians to appeal to different segments of the electorate, concealing their true intentions and motivations. This manufactured divide allows for the illusion of choice in the political arena, diverting attention away from the influence of a select few who manipulate the strings from behind the scenes. Common denominator: corruption. When one looks beyond the surface, it becomes apparent that a Machiavellian analysis of politics reveals a more significant common denominator among political leaders: corruption. In the modern political landscape, regardless of their purported ideologies, politicians often exhibit questionable ethical behavior and an inclination to prioritize personal gain over the welfare of the populace. From scandals to unethical dealings, corruption is a pervasive element that transcends party lines. Perhaps, as the essay's author suggests, we should abandon the left-right paradigm and instead focus on categorizing politicians based on the levels of corruption they exhibit. This approach, although far from perfect, has a Machiavellian appeal. It acknowledges the grim reality that politics is often a dirty game where personal interests often overshadow public welfare. By assessing politicians based on their corruption levels, we may be able to create a more accurate representation of their true nature, unencumbered by the facade of left or right. Sponsorship as a new paradigm. One intriguing proposition put forth by the essay's author is the idea of distinguishing politicians by their sponsors, akin to how Formula One teams display their sponsor logos on their suits and cars. This concept takes the Machiavellian perspective to a new level, where the true power brokers behind politicians are brought into the spotlight. In a world where transparency is often lacking, such a system could provide a unique insight into who is truly pulling the strings in the political arena. In conclusion, the concept that left and right are fabricated distinctions to manipulate the population is a provocative one, worthy of consideration. While it may be an oversimplification to argue that left and right entirely lack authenticity, it is essential to acknowledge that the political landscape is far more complex than a binary division can capture. From a Machiavellian standpoint, the prevalence of corruption among politicians transcends ideological boundaries. The idea of categorizing politicians based on their corruption levels or their sponsors introduces a compelling alternative paradigm that might lead to a more accurate understanding of the political arena. Ultimately, it is up to the citizens to scrutinize their leaders, peel back the layers of political rhetoric, and demand transparency and accountability in a world where left and right may indeed be nothing more than a manufactured illusion.